You're on you.
Yes, I know. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. Welcome to the chat. We are having a little different chat here. I'm a little laid up because I'm an old man and I hurt my leg, so I can't go down the Lego room. However, we have people stationed in the Lego room. Namely, my son is there, and we have a nice full room tonight. We've got Mr. Sandlin is here. My son Jake is downstairs in our Lego room. Brick Smith is here. Meredith and Miss N is here. Adrian is here. Magnus is here. Troubles Brewing, or Never to Be Troubles Bricking, is here. That's just so bad. And Lego Man Rich and his lovely bride are here. And just joining us, Hoser for Life. How you doing, Gil? It's good to see you here. And in fact, we'll start with you. What is going on in your Lego room today?
Zero.
Well, good that you're here then.
Yeah. Like usual, I'm just here for my singing voice.
Oh, good.
Much like yourself, I've been slugging my way through a non-COVID illness week. So yeah, I've done really absolutely nothing.
Wait. Are you hugging the mug or shooting the rapids? Which are you doing?
Depends on where the hour is.
All right. By the way, let's just go ahead with the chat. Raise your hand if you are currently sitting with an illness or injury. There's one hand right here. There's 2, 3. Just 3. Okay, so we're all right.
We're doing great, everybody. Keep up the good work.
We are. The reason I am not in my Lego room is that I blew out my calf muscle today just by walking up a slight incline. So there was a pop. It felt like somebody shot me in the leg. So yes, thank you very much. All right. So thank you, Gilbert. Let's go in the room here. Jay is here in the room. Haley Bricks is here. How you doing? Jeff McElwee, good to have you here. Will Hafner, good to see you here. Jeff Van Winden, it's awesome to see you. Brom, also good to see you. And Seth Bland from the east side of the state, you guys are here. Yes, Haley, that was an ouch. So I'm going to be the Brick Burrow, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah, I'm going to be sitting still and watching TV this weekend. All right, so speaking of, Rich, what is going on in your world, man?
Still packing stuff. We're starting to get to the buildings. The buildings are starting to go in boxes that are getting their way to the storage facility. With the exception of the delivery tomorrow, we have a delivery for more stuff from IKEA to rebuild our kitchen. We'll be making trips to the storage unit to put more stuff in. This is our lovely project wall in the dining room to track all our projects for our move.
Oh, that's cool. So have you taken the Lego one off?
No, the Lego's still over there. It's where you can't see it. There it is, the blue.
Okay.
That's the Lego. That's not done yet. Or get more boxes, pack more stuff. It's going. It is going.
I have this sneaking suspicion that with most of your Lego out of the house, you still have more Lego than 90% of the people in this room or over there in the chat. So, except for Adrian. Anyway, so let's see. Let's go to Magnus. What's going on in your world, buddy?
Hey, it's good seeing everyone.
Yes, you
I have not done much mock building in the past week or so. My castle remains a work in progress, and I'm at a point where building the interior is becoming a major challenge that I hadn't quite anticipated, which makes it interesting and frustrating at the same time. Otherwise, in non-Lego but Lego affiliated news, I stopped by a Brickmania store recently to pick up a thing that we're getting through our lug, and I got I think people mostly have seen them, but like one of the things I bought there was like a little chess set, or like a series of chess pieces. So like here's the black bishop, for example.
Cool.
They have like you buy a pack of the white. I got one of the white and one of the black sets, and I also got this this thing which is exciting and very not really not peaceful at all, which is a heavy machine gun. Which let's see if this works.
Hey.
Oh, it's got a light in it?
Yeah, you see that?
Cool.
All right, I will turn that
That is
off
awesome.
so as not to menace you anymore. So I have building plans, of course, and but yeah,
Old Chris
I'm just kinda
Christensen
chilling.
just flipped over in his grave, by the way. But that's awesome. All right. So what are you anything you got building? Anything you building? How's the Cobra thing going?
The Cobra, the castle. Well, it's actually in pieces right now.
No.
Like, give you an example. This bit here. Let's see if I can lift it up without breaking. So this is a quarter of the castle
Mhm.
from the outside, and on the inside, I need to fit in various attachment points so that the floors will fit in. This is actually 3 of the quarter parts of the outer wall. So when it's all sort of somewhat disassembled, it looks very different from when it is put together. But that gives you some sense of how it all works.
Cool.
So Magnus, that's made of appropriately old gray bricks, or is that new gray?
This is dark tan.
Yeah.
Dark tan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of
So,
hard. It kind of looks gray on the thing.
That's
Oh, that's the American to Canadian ratio.
Right.
Yeah, the transfer rate is not exactly
Yeah,
equal.
it's all
So
Right.
They
That's imperial. Gotcha.
it would be very expensive to do this in old gray bricks, especially since a lot of them don't. A lot
Well,
of
that's
the
what-
important parts of this don't exist in that color. Like
Well, that's what I was
the
gonna say.
bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would. The older I get and the wiser I become, the more I realize that the loss of old gray is more pronounced in the dark old gray than the light old gray, and also the
Yeah.
loss of old brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's
You know
correct.
that I remember years and back, Tom made me an offer once. Said, "I will trade you per weight all new gray brick. Sorry, was the reverse? Yeah, all old gray, my old gray brick for new gray brick." And I thought, oh man, that's kind of weird. Why would I do that? But now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, like no offense to the show, but yeah, he's kind of right. Because I've got all this old gray brick sitting around that. I just don't use as much unless I'm looking for like a weathered look or something. Right? So,
Hey, Gil,
Huh.
you know what this show?
story show.
I mean, if you
I
have,
just wanna-
if you have unused old gray, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who'd be happy to talk to you about that. But I mean, it's a shame that the new parts don't exist in the old colors.
Yeah.
It's a real loss.
All right,
Or vice
there's some
versa.
folks in the chat actually talking about virtual lugs and stuff. So actually, I'm hoping that we will get some folks who are actually local to each other to help each other out and join lugs, because that is our topic when we get to it tonight and everything. All right, Adrian, what is going on in your world, man?
Well, it certainly isn't Lego. Much like Rich, I've been packing to move. I bought a new house, and I don't get the keys until November the 20th. But I have a whole lot of stuff to pack up and move around. My basement domain is all packed up and just piles of stuff. The upstairs, I'm packing stuff up. That's why I'm not in the Lego room right now, because it's kind of, there's nothing much in there anymore. Home improvement projects, painting, hardware replacement, all the stuff you got to do to sell a house too. So it's a whole lot of not Lego and it's going to be like that for a long time, because even once I've moved, the Lego area is not going to be set up for me to do any kind of building, because I got to remodel the basement of the new house when I move in and get all my stuff set up. So it's going to be me in this green recliner for 6 weeks, and then it's going to be me in a new recliner in the new house. This is basically my streaming.
Yeah, by the way, if you'll note, this is old man chat because I am in a recliner. You are in a recliner. Rich is in his living room, our dining room and everything. We'll sit back and watch some TV while y'all youngsters talk, I guess. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Meredith, what is up in y'all's Lego world this week?
We're still waiting on the last sale. But it's over here. I'm trying to find more cannons to put in it. I got a lot of cannons with red. There's the one sale left.
Yep.
You can see. We're trying to find cannons to put in it. Gotta have the cannons, right? And then we got a lot of foliage from our event that
would that be both of those?
Really excited about. I don't know. You got the ambassador on the line. Am I allowed to talk about
Hey, I'm
it?
new here. Let me do it. No.
From our love?
All right. Yes. So we got this color, and we got this
Nice.
color. And then we got more. There's more. And we got lime foliage. And then we also got dark brown.
For the dead trees?
And then, yes. Well, you can put flowers on it. I don't know what I'm going to do with a ton of medium absorb foliage, but now I have literally like a gallon bag of it.
So I would my mind goes straight for the Frozen mock.
Maybe, who knows? I did get a lot. I did get out of everyone in the lug, I ordered the most of the Aqua 1x2 bricks.
I don't think I got any of those.
We have spacemen down there, but those are
Space.
Brian's. So that's about it. And then meanwhile, my child's obsessed with a Australian lady named Ellie V, who builds nothing but friends, stuff, and mocks.
Good.
And I can hear her Australian narration voice in my head. And now, Natalie, what are you calling me instead of mom?
Mom.
She's calling me mom.
Mom. How you doing, Mom?
Well, wait, that's how you're supposed to say it. That's proper.
She
No.
didn't find my birthday card, MUM.
She didn't say mum A. She said mum.
Mom, yeah. We don't do the
Close
A's around here, right?
Close enough.
Are you my mummy?
Are you my mommy? All right, Brick Smith, man, it's good to see you. We missed you last week. How you doing this week?
I'm still alive. That's
Okay.
great. What have I been doing? I've been working on the mock, the castle here. And man, I know you've got better building skills. And yeah, don't worry about the inside at all. Forget it.
You
Anyway.
mean you're not doing an interior?
And then I built Carter Baldwin's first set in
Nice.
Lego. Very happy about that.
Nice.
I actually got to meet Carter Baldwin back when he worked for Philly Brickfest Live.
Cool.
And then what is the other thing? I'm over 1,000 on TikTok.
Woo.
Lego TikTok, and also this month is for the Cure. All earnings from the Bricksmith thing on social media and the swag shop. All earnings go to Susan B. Coleman's for the Cure, so you can buy T-shirts in the merch shop. And link will be somewhere at some point.
I am about to drop it right now.
Yeah. So I'm not making any money off of this. All the things that are in the shop can be percentage of proceeds go to, and the only stuff that is whatever the shop takes from it. So
There you go. So
I don't make
there it is right there. Go there, and proceeds go to support Susie Coleman for the Cure Breast Cancer. So please support that, and that will be super awesome. Excellent. Very, very cool. All right. Good to have you back, man. Let's go downstairs in my house to my son. What's up, dude? You're muted. I muted you. There
Sorry,
you go.
dog was being weird.
Dog is always weird.
I have been building a search and rescue mech.
Sweet.
That's very cool.
It's actually got hydraulics in the back.
Yes, it does.
Oh, nice.
I built a second one. Finished it today.
Awesome.
Very cool.
It's got a hook in the back.
That's a winch, boy.
Remind me to tell you what he called a tow truck back when he was about 4 years old. But anyway, those are some designs. The skeletons by Chubby Bots, right? But you're skinning them on your own, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in the hobby long enough, you're laid up upstairs with a hurt leg, and your son is lapping you downstairs in your own Lego room with your own Lego bricks, beating the tar out of you as he builds better than you do. So
I tell you what, he always says that, but it sounds like words coming from a proud papa.
oh, I am quite proud, quite proud. But he's going to have to offer up a Ninjago mech or two, to balance out, because all those are my brick, by the way. Just FYI. Oh yeah, there he is. Oh. Hey, Jake, hold up an orange. Who's got the orange?
Okay, yeah, got him. Here we go.
Drop you off this channel right now. The orange spaceman. There they are. Oh, he's got a pumpkin head. That's awesome. That's awesome. Adrian, how many of those did you get? You're muted.
It's much more apropos.
500.
You got 500 of those?
Well, I now have 489 because I sold 10 to Micah and I'm shipping one to John Palmer.
Oh, are you? You gonna hook him
So
up?
I have 489.
I was gonna hook him up too.
Yeah, I'm
so
gonna hook him
that's
up with
awesome.
one. Yeah, well, if you hook him up first, then he'll get two. But I mentioned that all my Lego stuff downstairs is packed up. That includes my shipping envelopes. So I can't actually ship him out a fig until I unearth the envelopes to send
Yeah,
him.
I'm gonna really have to
You might get
buy
to
one
it
or
first.
two from one of you guys who are like rolling around in them and like rubbing them all over like they're in the shower or something. So yeah,
Wait, is that a requirement? You want us to do that before we send
I
it
need
to
that
you?
beforehand. Yeah.
Wait,
What
I
do I
gotta
do
do
with
this.
hundreds of these things?
Just so I
wait,
don't
wait,
scratch my
wait.
glasses.
Those are the ones I want. Throw them right in the bag before the dank comes off.
Yeah, we need to just have a bunch of them and doing the dollar bills with the orange pigs.
But someone
What
said,
does
what am I gonna do
what
with
does
them?
anyone do with over 100 identical space minifigs of any color?
They're going to become the crew for a new theme that I'm going to be working on. That's basically space
Oh,
construction.
that's cool.
And so it's basically it's going to be it's like an homage to Tom McDonald, who was big into orange. So I do some orangey space kind of stuff for him.
Are you guys going to make any orange Emmett
You bet.
space ones?
That's a
And
lot of
just-
construction
and
workers.
just-
Are they unionized?
Well, they
And
got a
just-
uniform.
And just so we're clear, this is going to be the crew for one of Adrian's smaller builds. Just so we're clear.
It's only going to be 30 feet long. So
Yes.
No, somebody just built for September. They built a gigantic, long, 26-foot monstrosity. I can't do that anymore. It's too much.
Wow.
Oh, that sounds like wimping out, man.
You should have bought a bigger house.
No, I can build it. No, I can build it in the new house. I've got room in the new house to build it, but I don't want to. They're too much work.
Yes, you can always populate a space
You say
layout.
that now.
I would
say
rather-
that now.
I would rather build 10 100 stud long ships than a single 1,000 stud long ship.
I
don't
smell.
know, man.
There's a whole lot of smell coming off of that comment. I don't
All right, and then I'll
believe that
blinch
in a
them all
minute.
together into one giant ship.
This is the man that built a robot out of a train where every car was a arm or a leg or whatever, So don't give me that. All right, Mr. Sandlin, what is going on in your Lego world, man?
Small Paul in the house.
Small boy. Hey, that's an orange spaceman right there with that orange head.
That's right. So today's been a fun Lego day. I went to Walmart's and got some collectible minifigs. Now I'm not good at like feeling the pieces in the packages, the blind packs. So I just grab of 4 packages. I got a Viking.
He's cool.
Nice.
He's really cool.
This is Bjorn Orangeson. And
Early Spaceman.
What the Karate Man.
Nice.
Awesome. And then I got Llama Lady. She's fun. And then I got Space Girl.
Space Girl. Woo, woo.
Yep. So as far as I'm concerned, I didn't even care what the other 3 were because I got Space Girl with the Galaxy Explorer T-shirt.
That's awesome.
Yes. So
And he also built.
yeah, let me say what I built, sir.
Peanut Gallery.
Peanut Gallery. So I bought the Thanos mech for Paul as well as the Spider-Man mech, the little one, $10 one. Spoopy. And I decided to upgrade the Spider-Man mech to look more or less like the SPDR from Spider-Verse.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
Konnichiwa. So
That's very cool.
we got the claws. We got the toe claws. I left the spider legs on the back just because those are fun. They're neat.
Yeah, they're kind of awesome.
So yeah, that was kind of fun. I thought it would look more spidery like that, and it's still got plenty of posability. Lots of all the joints are in there and everything. So yeah, that's what I was doing just now. It was fun. It was a fun little customization of the Spider Mech. I put some little flag pieces on the side of the torso there, so it sort of covers up the torso
Little gap.
there. Oh, I'm being corrected about which vehicle is on the shirt. So,
Yes. A fellow Canadian, you know.
my apologies.
Well, push him up. There we go. Yep.
Please.
Might need better lighting as well.
We're doing here. I got Spoopy Boy here. Are you gonna build your Thanos mech? No, maybe tomorrow. Maybe he'll build it tomorrow. He's off school tomorrow, so maybe he'll work on it then.
Well, there have been leaked pictures, and I'm not going to say where because I don't want to get in trouble, but there are leaked pictures of a Miles Morales Spider-Man mech, a Thor mech, and a Captain America mech in that same genre. So that's cool.
Like a fist.
I was about to say, it looks like Adrian's chair looks like a Hulk fist.
It looks like a Hulk fist.
That's what I thought it was actually when I looked up.
Hulk smash.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was I thought someone was actually holding that up.
No, just Adrian's green chair.
That's right. All right, I think we've been hit everybody but Dana, I believe. Dana, what is up in your Lego world?
Well, as you can see over my
Oh, come on, man. You're just being ridiculous with that behind you, man. That is just come on, man.
Yeah, I've already made my comments on that.
But do you don't think that I could go more obnoxious than just that over my shoulder?
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
Exactly. So, so a couple weeks ago, I picked up a few more Mtron sets, and so they were really dusty. So I think I talked about this on Monday. I went through and took them all apart, sent them through the washing machine. Some of the black parts did not come out as clean as I was hoping for, so I had to give them a little brush with a small toothbrush for a little TLC to get the residue, I think is what Rich called it when we were talking about it. And so I got them nice and clean, and then I spent the last couple of days putting them back together, which was fun because that's part of the joy of getting an old set and taking it apart and putting it back together. And then unfortunately, and I think Chris, you had the same problem with your solar power transport, that not all the pieces were there, even though it looked like they were.
That's
so.
right.
I had that problem on the Megacore Magnetizer, and I think one or two of the other ships was missing a few other pieces. Luckily, I have enough classic pieces in reserve that I was able to go in and pull them out.
Of course you do.
luckily, one of them was the little rocket ends in the old grade. It was missing. Originally, I thought it was missing 2 of them off the back of the Megacore, but then I went down to the basement and the Space Police 1 or Space Police 2 set. The person had put the black ones on the gray and the gray on the. They'd had them on the wrong set. So luckily, I was able to figure it out, and I was only missing 1, so I was able to pull 1 out of my storage to put it back to its perfectness. As other people pointed out, yep, we our lug got to experience its COVID distancing sorting of parts that we received in. Got to put all those out. So this was a big Lego weekend for me. So there was that. There was a full day, which if you haven't seen, I'm a big fan of the BrickHeadz for Christmas time. So the new Nutcracker came out, which is kind of cool. And then also,
I'm highly offended by that set.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't say nuts cracker. I just said Nutcracker. So yeah,
I just won. Anyway, keep going.
Just jingled his bell.
Oh.
So the other thing came out this week. This last week was the Christmas wreath, which also doubles as the Catholic or Catholicism menorah, or whatever you want to call it. Kind of cool. I think maybe two of these would make it even, because I think it's the size of the box when you build it. I'm pretty sure. So maybe 2 of these together would make a nice bigger wreath that you could actually hang on the door. My wife,
Yeah, if they buy 2, Dana, Ambassador.
you can eventually buy 2. I didn't say buy 2 this weekend.
They stopped us at 1.
Well, when something new comes out, I mean, it's a plus or minus the fact that Lego is in demand and in shortage. So it is what it is. It's a love-hate relationship that our favorite pastimes become popular and people are, buying them up all over the place. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. So that's what's been going on as far as that goes. There's something else I was going to talk about. No. I think we're just going to go right into this week's Old Gray Brick, shall we?
I think we shall.
Here we go, folks.
Here we go, boys and girls. This Old Gray Brick set of the week
So
is the Megacore Magnetizer. Yes. If you'll notice that the picture I've taken is not of my set down in my Photoshop or the front of the instructions or the box. I took the liberty of scanning the back of the instructions because there's such a great little, I don't know if I call it little. It's a pretty big set of instructions. This great drawing from the instructions of the complete magnetizer. So awesome. But let's move on.
Hey, wait. It's interesting that the dish on top looks dark gray and not black.
That's a problem with certain old instructions because it does look like it's dark gray instead of black. You're right.
Yeah.
A lot of the pieces, like the magnet holders, even look like they're dark gray and not black. But
the kids of 2020 would call that an actual build, right there.
An actual build.
What?
Yeah,
Because it's instead of it being digital. Yes, you're right.
Okay,
Or physical build, I think, is the other phrase that they can use. So, all right. So moving in, Mtron came out in 1990, and actually the whole theme was through 1991. 503 pieces in the Megacore. You got 3 Mtron figures. Retail price was $60 back then. It seems like such a bargain by today's standards. It's such a bargain.
By today's standards, it was a fortune back in the time.
Yeah, probably.
Quite expensive.
Used price for a loose one's going to run you anywhere from $200 to $250, and if you can get lucky to find one in the box, it's going to run you $550 to $1,500, depending on which crazy buyer or seller you can find throughout the world. Why is it cool? I think the first thing that comes to mind has got to be that giant Transdream canopy. It just stands out like a sore thumb, and it's just awesomeness. Along with that, those big, hard plastic giant wheels that pretty much only came in that set in black. You got an orange in another set, and then in light gray in the Star Destroyer. So
that's correct.
not a common part in any color across the way. The other thing that makes this car so cool is magnets. I mean, that's just the whole thing of M-Tron themed just to begin with, is all the magnets. And you get a chunk of magnets in this set. Lots of playability, which, by the way, let's just call it mega playability.
Mega
playability.
Mega.
So much fun stuff in this set to do. So with that, let's show off the set in the physical build, and I will switch to my other cam.
Oh, which one to pick? It's so hard to pick which one.
All 15 that he has.
No, I only have 2 mega.
Just 2?
Just 2. So, but anyway, so given this bad boy, look at those wheels. You gotta love that. The cool thing, you got a steering wheel here, so you can actually articulate the wheel, so you can move it around a little bit. I'm a big fan of the articulation on any of the classic sets too, so this falls right into play there. And then you, as we all got to see from when Rich showed his updated one, you got to be able to have the section here to flip open the canopy, so you can get your spacemen out. Rich actually added some side doors, which would be cool to have on this guy. You've got this awesome crane that flips up, and you spin one of the tire wheels to move the crane out to drop off your magnet crates, or you can actually flip it over and wheel all the way out there and grab these little pods that have all sorts of little devices inside them. You also get a couple of little drones that you can drive off in or send off on their own business. If you flip the bad guy around, and I said there was mega playability, I meant it. There is mega playability. So you can also open up these back thrusters, drop down a little door, and slide out another little flyer to be flying around on. And it also has a magnet on it so that you can pick up and carry little containers all the way. So mega playability all the way across this set.
Oh yeah.
So awesome.
And as I did say, yeah, you can see that the second one is there, and this gratuitous display of M-Tron. So, and that brings us to the end of our Old Gray Bricks set of the week.
Awesome. Hello, Mr. Beery in the chat. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I didn't get that set back in when it was new, but I got it probably 10 years ago, and yeah, it's one of the. It was the first space line that didn't have a base. That was the base, and it was a mobile base. And it was just fantastic in its design and everything. I still think that they initially intended M-Tron to be space firemen because they have all those pods with hoses in them. I don't know why you would have hoses in pods in space.
Yep.
I don't know, but with a helicopter and a couple of, like the chief and stuff like that. Anyway, that was always my thought that it may have been a theme that's kind of supposed to be a space fireman theme.
You know what? The more you say that, the more it makes sense. Because A, you have to have a helicopter in every fireman theme, so you got a space helicopter. The Megacore is basically a hook and ladder truck.
Yes.
And you're right, there are tons of those hoses throughout everything.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
And,
I mean,
and
totally
also
makes
because
sense.
you know that
Totally makes sense.
in the middle of deep space, fire is always a major concern.
Well,
Plasma
this is
fire.
the oxygen.
I watch Star Trek.
So my challenge still stands for Dana that he needs to do an updated version like me so that we can do a comparison.
I did think about that when I was putting this the second one here together, and however, I think I might change it a little bit, and instead of doing an M-Tron one, I might utilize the orange wheels I have to do something different, but yet still Megacore.
Still have a Megacore magnetizer. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd accept that challenge.
Okay, all right. And then one last thing, I think so I was pulling all my stuff out, and I thought maybe I had like just 2 of certain things, and
Wait,
then
you're doing what?
I had like 6 or 7 of the smaller vehicles, and then I went looking through my minifigures, and somehow I've acquired 10 M-Tron minifigures without helmets. So I'm going to have to do a BrickLink order, or when I go down to Atlanta Brick Company on the 24th, I might call ahead and say, hey, pull me out some black helmets so I can give these guys some helmets. And then I started looking and I found a bunch of extra Mtron pieces that I've got through stuff. So I might be able to scrounge together in my inventory probably another few smaller ships. So I'll report back on that in a future time.
I'm sure you will.
Now here's something too. Like if you ever go looking for that set, particularly on eBay, not so much BrickLink for obvious reasons, but if you look on eBay or any of the other, Craigslist or whatever, they'll often say, like Megacore Magnetic, complete. And how many times have we all seen the thing? Yeah, it looks good, everything's there, except the wrong size wheels. I don't know how many times you see like those, they're like one size too small. And every time I look at it, it looks like, they had a blowout on the highway. They hauled the donut out of the trunk and they'd put it all the way around, right?
Or they lowered it, right? They're low riding.
Yeah. It's like, it's like cruising down Crank Crenshaw or something, right? Yeah.
Now, am I correct in that some countries got it as the Magnet Core Magnetizer, or there was two different names for the Megacore Magnetizer, I think.
Maybe David might remember, but I know that until a certain time, like in a lot of the magazines or the little catalogs in Canada, we didn't even have the names. Like they just had the number. Yeah. But then we started to pick up the names, and I noticed when I took trips to the States that a lot of them were not the same, and I think that was one of them. One of them was a little bit off, but you probably know better than I would.
That's your metric system coming through again. But
no, it's just that we had it right, so we just let it slide more or less.
Yeah, right. That was your Maple Leaf hauler. Is that what you would named it? Because you didn't have a name, so
the syrup magnetizer.
Have we talked about?
Is that what's in those cases?
What was that, Dana?
We talked about the Maple Leaf shirt project.
Oh yeah, Mr. Sandlin has made a on TeePublic. If you want to pop that link in the private chat, and I'll put it out for everybody. Mr. Sandlin is making a few space shirts on TeePublic, and he is tell us about what you made there, Mark.
That was supposed to be a surprise.
Oh.
Sorry, screwing stuff up.
Since you've all talked about it, I guess.
Well, I did. Dana started
it. I have a question about the Mtron stuff. If we're about to shift, are we about to shift away from that?
No, we can still talk about. Are you talking about the Megacore Magnetizer? We can talk about that.
I have a question about the Mtron stuff.
Sure.
One question is, I'm not like a diehard spacer, but to me that has just always been one of the classic space sets.
Right.
Like of the post-Futuron classic space, I don't know anyone who has ever complained about that set. It's just a really, really awesome set. To me that's like a really, really awesome, like everyone acknowledges that's like a classic, like put it on Mount Rushmore set. My other question is like, what do you do when you have multiples of the same set? Are you doing are you planning a dia, or like if you're?
So you raised actually a very good question that somebody else actually asked me on Instagram as well.
You trot them out and show them to your friends and make them mad at you. That's what you do.
That's the given. That is literally the given. I mean, I have no other motivation to display multiple copies of sets than just to drive people mad. Mainly Chris. But no, so somebody asked me on Instagram, would I do a diorama or something like that with all the Mtron sets, or even any of the other themes that I have multiple sets of. And I have to say that probably the Mtron, because there is such a large Mtron love out there, and not just for the Megacore, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there who have done big Mtron themes. What's that?
Hey, Dana.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to mention OC's crazy awesome.
Yeah, he's basically he's done the Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round and I think a little roller coaster all in Mtron. So it's like a theme.
Their layout last year, this year was awesome.
Yeah, theme park in space. There's somebody out there who's done like a huge, like 6 foot by 6 foot big Mtron like smelting mock and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff out there. But Gil, here you go. Here's my spoiled reveal.
This is for you, baby.
You're sure?
So awesome. Like the minute I'm done here, it's purchased. It's so great, man. That's
It's
awesome.
already been purchased. I was going to ship it to you.
Yep, it's already on
It is on the way, buddy.
Oh, Canada.
That is so cool. Thanks. Oh, that is awesome. And hey, it's a month to my birthday. Perfect.
Happy birthday. There you go.
Maybe we'll throw in an orange spaceman or two for you.
DNA included.
That's cool. That is seriously cool though. That looks so good. Right on.
So just to finish up on your question, Magnus, yeah, I think I'm going to have to do some sort of Mtron display mock or something, or just a diorama that is really Mtron focused, because I'm sure I can definitely switch to a moon base of all Mtron and it would fit right in with my other stuff.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, I mean, and also it's just one of those things. It's like, oh, I can have another one of those. Sure, I'll have another one of those. You know, that's the way we collectors can be. So.
It's a sickness, really.
I have 75 orange spacemen, and Adrian has 500 of them because we could, right?
Because why? Because I can.
Because I went to college for 5 years and then worked as an engineer for 20 more. That's why. Because I can.
Because I can.
All right. So let's go ahead and hop over to our topic for the night, is whether or not to lug, to not to lug. I don't know. Just show of hands in the room. How many of you are active in a lug? Yeah, I think everybody is. Jake, you are. Your teeth fall in our lug. So we only have one that is not. The Canadian is not.
Right.
That boy. Anyway, but there are a lot, and we can probably share good stories, bad stories, horror stories. And if you're in the chat, if you're active in a lug or not, we want to talk about that. So put your opinions in for sure, and we'll go through those and everything as we talk about it. But I, for one, have always been in a lug. Well, I guess since like 90. Well, when I moved back to Georgia, and there was Dixie Lug was in existence in a small form back then, and that was early in 2000s, and it existed before that. And lugs have changed through the years, and what lugs do. And there are a lot of folks who are positive about lugs. There are a lot of folks who are negative about lugs. Dana, you put a poll in one of the Facebook Lego groups. What data did you glean from that?
So out of about a little over 2 days, I got 981 responses, which is pretty good considering that that particular Facebook group has got like 16,000 people in it. So to get that percentage is actually pretty good to get them to respond. I got 408 yeses that they're in a lug compared to, well, actually, I had multiple answers, I think. So yes was 408 responses, but there were 45 that said yes to more than one lug. So that was kind of interesting. So that the yeses came out to be 46% out of those who responded. The other 53% were varying. So there was 325 that said no. There were 116 that said no. What's a lug? 70 said no, but I'd like to. And 17 were other varying responses that really didn't count. I mean, we'll just throw them away into the other bucket. So it was interesting because there was a lot of discussion. I mean, I think it was well over 250 comments over the 2 days. Very hot and heavy for the first couple hours of people chiming in. A lot of responses that kind of attest to that. 116 people saying, "What's a lug?" And I make the assumption that everybody understands that lug is Lego user group, so I'll just say that now.
Right.
Because there were a lot of people who said, you know, I don't even know what that is. And even when you told them Lego user group, they're still like, what do you mean Lego user group? That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, the fact that there is factions of people across the country who've gotten together to socialize on a Saturday or Sunday, talking about the brick and showing off what they built, that was kind of foreign to some people. A lot of people had bad tastes who had said that no, they were, or they had been in the lug but weren't in one now or didn't want to be. Yeah, you wouldn't have the sets you have sometimes. But so
I think lugs be a force for really good, considering. Wamalug was one of the first lugs to say, "Hey, let's make a convention." And
That
we
was
did.
the original Brickfest. So yeah.
Yeah, Brick Fiesta was also started by a lug. If I'm not
That's correct. I think a lot of the original shows were birthed out of lugs because Mark was up in Seattle, and that's where Northwest BrickCon came from. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got C-Lug together first in around 2000 when I was getting into the LugNet scene, because at the time there was only the PNLTC, the Pacific Northwest Lego Train Club. And so I asked around with the train guys and said, well, would there be any interest in having just like a lug for not train focus? And everybody was really cool. Fortunately, it wasn't like it wasn't a contentious thing, because plenty of the guys from the train club started coming to C-Lug meetings, and like it was very amenable, which is nice. And when I formed C-Lug, it was pretty much just like putting the word out with emails and stuff saying, hey, let's have a lug and have meetings and hang out. And it was super casual. We didn't have officers or any of that kind of formal organization of anything, really. It was just very, very casual, but fun. And then the BrickCon just sort of 2002, we sort of spontaneously kind of pulled that together. It was something really kind of the first BrickCon was very small, and we just had like a couple of public days in the Seattle Center, which is a kind of Seattle Center is the little commerce area right next to the Space Needle. And there's a building that has like meeting rooms and stuff in it. And we had, I think, 2 meeting rooms, and it was just people from C-Lug who pulled together and did displays. And I think we had a few people come in from out of town, because Braun was there, John Palmer was there, Jeremy Sproat and his wife, and he's not really active in the Lego community anymore, but he was at the time on LugNet. I can't remember if we had too many other people from out of town, but I had, I think, 4 people stay in my house, which at the time was like 900 square feet. So I had people on the sofa, people in the living room, people here, people there. But it was a lot of fun. We had an absolute blast, and yeah, it was really fun. It was very much a grassroots kind of just community throwing together kind of thing at the time.
Right. And
so
that's kind of how
it's interesting you said that the train folks were kind of in a part of the origin of C-Lug, or were there kind of way, because one of the reoccurring comments was, a lug, I don't build trains, why would I join a lug, was one of the comments. So I thought that was interesting. A lot of the other comments had to do, and even some of the people in the peanut gallery here tonight are pointing out that when a lug goes bad, it sets a bad taste. There can be a lot of, I guess maybe cliquey would be the, I mean, it sounds like a very high school term, but I would say that that's probably an accurate statement that certain groups, and this is not exclusive to lugs. I think anytime you get,
Yeah, I was going to say you get a similar response from like homeowners associations where you get someone who gets a little bit of power and it goes to their head and they become intolerable.
Yeah.
I almost said a curse word.
Well, you said HOA, so that's close to a curse word.
Yeah. I will say it anyway. They become intolerable assholes. I will say it because I want you to do that thing, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do the thing here?
He just wants to see it.
And piggyback on that also, when it comes to the Lego Online community, it can also leave a bad taste in your mouth through all of the social medias, not even just YouTube or Twitch.
Well, that's just basically humans in general. When you get a large group of them together, it's going to happen, or it has a potential to happen, I should say, for people to make things sour. And once and you know, we could throw around cliches and stereotypes here, but all it takes is one bad apple to ruin the experience, and then people just don't want to be involved anymore, and they walk away.
And there's one thing too that I find is that it's something that's sort of happened a little bit like that here in Toronto. It's like David mentioned about RTL, the old, what was that, Yahoo? Like, I remember what those things were. RTL.
Toys Lego.
Yeah, but it's RTL Lego, but I can't remember what the structure was that was.
That's from Usenet.
Usenet, that's it. Yeah. So like there's that group that grew up in Toronto who they were more robotics and sort of a sprinkling of town and train. But
the people were more robotic, or they were doing robotics?
This is kind of the thing. So yeah, but you know that was like Toronto's thing for the longest time. And I mean, you know, I think at the one brick fest, I met some of the guys from there, and you know, didn't get a lot of response back, which is cool. You know, everyone's known one another for a long time and stuff. You know, but then I know when Toralug started, that would be probably 6 years ago, it had a much more wider base, right? So because RTL Toronto kind of calmed down, and then Toralug came up. So then now you have these, but then, and I've heard about this in other jurisdictions too. Now you've got two groups, right? So now there's a potential where you can have two lugs trying to operate in the same environment, and that starts to cause problems, you know, logistical problems, because my understanding is that I don't think that Lego will recognize two lugs from the same city, as far as that used to be that way.
That's not true.
It's not true. So that's not true.
I'm part of two lugs.
Right.
WAMA Lug and WAMA LTC, and they both have ambassadors, and we both enjoy the perks you all enjoy as part of the lug.
Okay. Now, like, I don't know, like, has that been the standing rule for ages?
Well, WAMA Lug and WAMA LTC have been around for nearly as long as each other, and I think they, at least WAMA LTC, is grandfathered per se, potentially. And now they may not recognize two lugs in the same general geographic area,
right?
For those reasons in general, but we've had a long-standing full participation grouping in both. Yeah. The fact that some or most are members of both
right.
makes not much of a difference.
Right.
Which I think is interesting. I mean, because you mentioned that, first off, the fact that there were 45 people that responded that said they were in multiple lugs was interesting. Now I can see somebody, and we have a couple of members in our lug that are a member of virtual lugs, and then also physical lugs. So it kind of boggles my mind to be in two physical lugs in the same city, basically.
Yeah.
It's not that. Me, it doesn't boggle me too much because I do have an interest in trains in town because I want to go and display.
Sorry, hang on.
Hinkle, get your hinkle.
Hinkle swag.
Want in one town. Who knows?
And literally, his ears had to be.
I don't want to try it.
Kevin's ears had to be burning because I was thinking, gosh, this is a great episode that Kevin would have so much comments for.
And he did.
I think it makes sense if it seems to me that it makes sense if you have a lug that is focused on like a particular thing within, like if there's like a technical Mindstorms lug or a train lug or if there's enough people in your town to have like a space lug, then don't see the problem in that.
Bionic Lug comes to mind too, even though they're mostly virtual and or West Coast, Portlandy people.
All lugs are space lugs, man.
So, what are the comments that came up in? And it's funny that you mentioned robotics because one of the comments, because I and probably it looked like it was me and like 3 other Lego ambassadors who were kind of fielding the comments in the poll or that had come from the poll, and trying to smooth out some of the negativity that might have come up for people who had bad experiences. But one guy did comment. He's like, he had gone to a lug and they were really into trains, and he just didn't. He felt kind of like he was an outsider, even though he was a Lego fan, and he was more interested in building mechs and robots. And there wasn't anybody in the lug who was interested in that, so he just kind of fell off to the side and didn't want to become involved. And
personally, I think that unless you're in a lug with Larry Panyatsik, where you only have you can only make prototypical trains, that you can come to a lug and do or LTC and do just about anything you want, because a town is made up of more than just trains and some buildings. You got to have something else going on. So mechs and whatever space invasion aliens should be par for the course.
Oh, absolutely. And I think and some of the other comments that got filtered into through things, and I could get kind of the feeling from some of the other ambassadors too, that the reality comes down to is that the success of a lug starts at the ambassador and what he is. If that guy's a good guy, the lug is kind of successful. If that guy is kind of elitist or trying to wield power, as Adrian had pointed out, that some people get a little power and that goes to their head and things get a little crazy. That if you don't have a lug that's cultivating things and encouraging builds in other areas, you're going to get kind of stagnant, and the lug will only be one thing or even burn out. So,
well, it's not necessarily about an ambassador. I mean, we had lugs before we had ambassadors. I bet whoever's in charge of things had a lug, right?
President,
whoever's in charge of things, right? The person of the people. I mean, we lugs need some people to be in charge of certain things, and I think the bigger a lug is, the inherently more bureaucratical it gets. If you're in a situation where you need to spend money renting space to have your meetings, or you need money for any expense, then you're going to have to collect money, and then there's dues. And like running a lug with 15 people is very different from running a lug with 65 people,
Absolutely.
But
at the same time, I think you get more diverse interests if the lug is a little bit bigger.
Absolutely.
You don't go into a train lug and you're a space person, or go into a space lug and you're a town person. I think the larger lugs, at least you get people that have a little bit more, I'm not saying that trains are bad or space is bad, but, kind of something for everybody.
Well, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was fortunate when I came into Dixie Lug that we had such a large space community that really appealed to my interests. Because, I mean, what brought me out of my dark age was the Lego Movie and Benny's Spaceship. And so once I came into the lug and saw, there was guys building Moonbase, and I was like, where have you guys been my whole life? I've come home. But at the same time, we also had this huge this huge town display that took up probably like 6 ping pong tables when I first went to our first show, and I was like, this is also amazing. I want to be a part of this town thing and this space thing, as opposed to feeling like, oh, you like space, go away, or oh, you like castle, go away. I think it comes down to being around people who will embrace no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Here's my small take. I like doing things as a family, and she enjoys it, and Brian enjoys it, and I tagged along as a critical person that, oh, it's gonna be weird, it's gonna be lame, and I'm a little bit of a shy nerd. Like, I don't want people to see my nerd flag fly.
Wait, time out. How many in here would say they're a shy nerd? Let's just go show of hands. Who is a shy nerd in here? Go ahead.
I'm
Put your hand
not
up.
shy in the sense that you can't socialize, but shy is in the fact that I don't let my nerd flag fly in front of people I don't know very well.
That'll change.
Yeah, as you grow one in your house, you will let that flag fly more. and more.
She's exceeding all nerddoms beyond. So
Well, isn't that the whole point of having children, is for them to succeed you?
probably, but I mean, I think culturally, and this is off topic. I was meeting with a client, and this is a director level person, a person that reports to an SVP, who reports to the EVP, who reports to the CEO. So 3 or 4 levels down from the CEO for a Fortune 500 company. And I showed him a picture of the UCS Falcon that Brian had rebricked, and he lost it. So that culture is changing, and obviously that's a side note. But Brian and I, before we did Lego stuff, yes, VP, we did autocross, which is motorsport stuff together before we had Natalie. Natalie's not A, into it, B, not capable of doing it as a child. And so, I mean, Brian and I would spend 30 weekends a year doing autocrosses before we had Natalie. And we kind of wanted something, and we loved it, and we had a great time in our 20s doing it. We wanted something like that with Natalie, and that's why we enjoy the Lug, because Natalie can go, she can sometimes converse with the adults, but most of the time there's other kids there that love Lego, that love doing similar kids' interests that she does, and we can enjoy it as a family. We can go to events as a family, and I love that time together because you're all enjoying it.
So I want to come back to that, or maybe we'll talk. I got something to add to that, and then we're going to come back to Jay's question about focus looks, because that's another good question. And then Magnus, we're going to come back to your comment about dues. So we're going to circle back to those 3 things. But so one of the some of the other comments that came up in the poll was lugs and kids, because not all lugs are family friendly, and not all, the ruling is that you can't participate in many of the lug things unless you're 18 or older, as far as like the program that should be not talked about that gets you bulk. We also have it that you can't get certain prizes unless you're over 18 because of being in a park. You can't be an official member of the lug unless you're over 18. So while we can't have kids as members, we do encourage them in our lug because they're coming with a parent, yeah, amazing story for that one. We could talk about lug. Yeah, I would love to pick Kevin's brain for a month on just all the lug information he's got. But so, has anybody in here been privy to lugs that frowned upon kids being there? Magnus?
Yeah, I mean, Wamalog started off more or less that way, and slowly it's changed where, we don't want to be a babysitter service where people just leave their kids and disappear. But I mean, I think over time, more of us have become parents, and people who perhaps didn't want to hang out with other people's kids 10 years ago now bring along their own kids. But there was definitely a point where there were the log was big enough that we were sort of up to and above capacity to the spaces we had, and there were a lot of kind of kids running around with various levels of social skills that are being developed, and some of us, including myself at the time, were a little impatient with that. So I think it's fair, like no lug can be everything to everyone, right? You're never going to find some lugs are going to be really great for families. Some lugs are going to be really great for certain building themes. Some lugs are going to be better for collectors or mock builders, and that's okay too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some kids and families you meet, and you're like, yeah, sweetie, we're not having another play date with that child. So I think, I mean, I heard a story. I can't remember what lug she was in. I was talking to it was Brookford, North Carolina last year, and Natalie was with me, and she was asking, "Oh, does your daughter do it with you?" And I go, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, are you guys in a lug?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And da. And she's like, "Oh," she goes, "We used to have kids in a lug, but we'd held our meetings at a store." And she goes, "We had no problem with kids before, but one family showed up and had what I call laissez-faire. She's described as laissez-faire parenting style, and the kids ran feral in the store that was hosting the lug meeting. And after that, no more kids." So
well, yeah. And I think
it's just finding that like-minded personality group where I think all of our kids get along well, and
except for that one child who I think I destroyed on Sunday by telling her to zip it.
My child?
No. It was her child. Don't you remember there was this loud, annoying noise while everyone was quiet, and I was trying to think of saying something, and I was like, "You stop," and then she was quiet.
There's one thing. Once we do the loop of the questions we're going through, there's one more thing I want to add that's somewhat connected to this, but I want to continue the loop.
All right, so we're moving on to so we kind of touching on the themed lugs, and there's been some comments on the side. It's really hard to do both this and these people at the same time. Yes. So themed lugs, I think that's kind of a cool thing, as long as you're not focused on just that thing and you only do that one lug. I can see being in a themed lug as a second lug, because I have way too much fun being able to do multiple things in my lug, because we're not narrowed, we're not specific. Even though each of us has our passion, I enjoy the fact of having diverse things to do and deal with. I'm only hoping, because that kid was a chatterbox, and if we can shut her, anyway.
Nice.
Well, we just lost a lug member.
No, because actually, I think Dad kind of liked what I did, so it was okay. Because I've even thought about doing like a space lug that's virtual, that's online, to do with other people who are specifically space orientated. But I would never give up doing things with my physical lug that we do all sorts of things. We're constantly doing. We do mock challenges every month for something different, and getting everybody's interest and piqued in doing other things. That's part of the lug that I love, is all the creativity that I get, and it's a two-way street for everyone. You're bringing stuff and you're taking stuff away at the same time.
And honestly, like what that's doing is that's like sort of like using the same sort of philosophy, which I really miss from LugNet, is that when you posted something, right? You posted something in LugNet Space, let's say it's a space train or whatever, you would cross post to all the other forums, right? To LugNet Trains, LugNet this, LugNet. So, and that was awesome, because then you'd get people chiming in saying, "Hey, that's a cool looking, space train. It'd be even cooler if you included, this tender or this, whatever, right?"
Right.
And that's the part I think that I really miss. And like, that's to your point about having a wide, multiple themed lug, man, to get everyone like jiving at the same time, that's awesome. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
Well,
as Chris has stated many times before, iron sharpening iron.
That's right. The one nice thing I will say about Dixie Lug / Peach Lug is we at one time had in our state 2 different clubs. You had Dixie Lug, which was very laissez-faire, kind of just hanging out, and really didn't do anything. And you had like 4 or 5 really passionate people in the train club doing very specific things. And both of them kind of fizzled around the same time. And then both then just kind of came back together as Dixie Lug again. And then it was like, yeah, you're important and so are you. And that's kind of been the vibe in the club, is that whatever you're bringing to the table to display or whatever is equally valid. And that's a cool thing in our in our lug. I don't know if it's unique. Maybe our little southern laid backness lets a little more tolerance or whatever in for everybody's stuff. But it also then says, hey, you know what? I've never built a diorama before. I'll do that. And I've never built a spaceship or a moon base before. I'll do that, because we then, even when we do a train show, we allow for moon base and space stuff to be displayed. We work together on that, which is super cool. So that's kind of nice in the DNA of our lug. I hope that is more prevalent than it is, but it may not be. So,
for my
as I was saying, that when you do a Lego train display, that if you have a decent organizer, that they're making sure there's room for everybody to come and display, because if you have just buildings and a train, it makes for a very uninteresting display, and you need somebody to encourage those other people to come and display. I don't care what you got, bring it in. We'll figure out where it goes.
That's an interesting tidbit there Mr. Hinkle just dropped. That's cool.
It is. Which actually, I wonder.
And I kind of feel like with Rich being on that microphone, he's somewhere in orbit between the Earth and the Moon.
I was about to say, you need to hit the retro rocket.
You see you floating around.
I wanted to hear the little beat after each sentence, you know.
So, Chris, you had mentioned that Dixie Lug had the laissez-faire attitude about different people being able to display whatever they wanted to display.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my lug is very small, and I think that sometimes the size of the lug also.
Hey guys, we gotta go to bed. We're getting all cranky.
All right, bye. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
So the size of the lug can dictate what kind of a lug you are. In our case, we don't have any specialization. So if we were going to have a train show, we've got one train builder. If we were going to have a space show, we've got two space builders. So we have our shows are always, by their very design, because of who's in the lug, they have to be totally all encompassing, or we can't fill the room. And so as the lugs get bigger, then you start getting situations where you can have a group that you've got 10 train builders and they can fill a room of trains. And so then you start getting the specialization of the shows. But sometimes the size of the club will dictate what kind of displays you can even do.
And one would think that at that point in time that maybe some lugs would wind up splitting. Is that something you guys have heard, that when a lug gets too big and you have that kind of feel that it winds up splitting into two? Possibility?
I think generally lugs split because of geographics and not because of focus.
Well, yeah, I think that was part of what Kevin had said, that that lugs forming together had to do with the people who knew each other. I think that's how I translate that. That just, you got Lego enthusiasts that got together and said, hey, let's do something, and then it just kind of goes from there. So we don't have with us a couple of our other normal regulars that had mentioned in offline about dues, and that in Florida there's a ridiculous due that's for one of the lugs, and that in New York there's also a ridiculous due to be a member of the lug. When I started with Dixie Lug 5-6 years ago, there was no dues, no nothing. You just came to the lug, the lug meeting. You showed what you were building. There might be a competition. We might play a game. We might do something. And then the next thing you know, here's some free Lego. We're doing this and that. And, it was cool. And then as we started getting bigger and we started getting more people, to Adrian's point, we were also going to have to start paying for the space that we were meeting in, because it was no longer going to be free. So we thought, well, we also need to pay for the tags for the trailer that hauls our tables around. We got a website. So we thought, well, to generate some, to cover these costs, we said $15 a person. I spend more in Lego just thinking about it than $15 a year. So it's not a big deal for me. But then hearing that there are people who have to pay upwards of $75, maybe even close to $100 a year to be a member of their lug, that's interesting. So thoughts on paying for lug dues?
I think if you start paying dues of any, whether it's a $2, whatever it is, then you start feeling entitled to things. And if you don't feel like the money's being spent on things that you appreciate or benefit you, then people can get sort of frustrated with the principle more than, comparatively small amounts of money they're spending compared to whatever they might be doing Lego-wise. If I were in a lug in New York City, I'm assuming it would be quite expensive to rent space for meetings anywhere. So I would assume that there might be more dues there. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that Ryan had been able to show so we could talk kind of through that and find out more of what was involved and why the dues were so high.
It's my understanding, I don't want to necessarily put words in Ryan's mouth, but it's my understanding, at least as a general topic, that the lug in New York, where Ryan does a lot of train shows. And I think the dues are to help pay for tables and trailers and some of the
convention
logistics
space and stuff like that if they're doing their own thing, maybe.
Things of that nature. So, I'm not trying to say for or against any of that or render any kind of opinion. I just think that was the general gist I got from Ryan regarding why their dues are higher.
Hopefully he can chime in and give us a little more detail next week. So another little bit that's coming over in the chat is talking about. All right, let's just. We're gonna say it. Lug bulk. There is a program that exists that if you are a member of a lug, and one of the benefits of being a member of a lug is that if your lug is recognized, you get to participate in a once a year ordering of parts from Lego in bulk. Hence the phrase bulk. You are only limited to the number of elements. So you only get a specific number of elements that you can choose from, and then within your lug, each member can only spend up to so many dollars for that. And I think our lug had an interesting scenario that happened this year because we get to choose so many things. We get to choose so many pieces. So we go through and do a vote of those pieces that we get to choose. And as we've said, we have train people, we have space people, we have different variations of things that people want to build and that they want to get numbers of pieces of. Okay, so it's no longer a secret. So Chris, right there from the man, it's no longer a secret. We can talk about it however we want to talk about it. I blame Chris. That was the whole thing. He was telling me we're not supposed to talk about it. We can talk about it. So we get to choose 85 elements. And so we have 30 people who get to choose those elements. It was really close to breaking our lug in half just choosing those elements. And that kind of corresponds to what Kevin was saying, is that a lug gets to a point where lug bulk breaks the system down. So luckily, even though we do have a lot of interesting characters in our lug, it didn't take long for us to stop and say, hey, this is wrong. And for everybody who was doing the wrong thing said, oh, you're right. Let's change it. Let's do the right thing. And then everybody was fine. So maybe, again, that comes coming back to Chris, we're lucky that we've got some understanding people who are willing to work together versus digging their heels and saying, no, I want what I want and screw everybody else.
Yeah. I know that. Then Kevin's mentioned that lug bulk has broken groups, mini groups, and that's true. And I've heard horror stories. So that's one of the nice things about when we had our little hiccup this year that we were able to work through it. And hope we can. Can I ask a question about that program since we wrote the subject?
Yeah.
Does it grow and shrink the number of elements with the size of your group, or does every recognized lug get this certain number of parts?
So there's another comment.
It's always 85.
Yes, it's always 85. And this is another comment on the side. Who's eligible for lug bulk? I think if you're at tier 1 for recognized lug, or tier 2, or however they look at it, I forget if it was 1, 2, 2, or 3. But as long as you become a recognized lug, it used to be you had to do so many public shows to be able to participate in lug bulk, but they did away with that last year. and now it's just if you're a recognized lug, you participate. So,
Hey, so here's one question I have when it comes to this pro program is that when you're talking about the cost, right? Like obviously, like there's like everyone chips in a certain amount and that purchases the bulk buy, right? So is it significantly cheaper than a Bricklink mass buy if you were to do it yourself?
So the one thing that I have seen that we're not supposed to talk about is the price of pieces. So I think that's still valid. But yes, to answer your question, it is significantly at a discount.
Okay. Because that was
especially in
Sometimes.
large quantities.
Yes.
Sometimes
Now we
there are
have
some
gone
elements
through.
that are actually more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As I said, there are some elements that are actually more
Yes.
expensive on
Yes.
lug bulk. So, like our lug bulk coordinator will actually, when we get our first batch of picks, he'll go through Bricklink and be like, "No, don't pick this one. It's cheaper on Bricklink. Pick something better."
That's good.
Yep. As a matter of fact,
We had somebody do that.
yeah, and as a matter of fact, we had a little issue with that this year where we had somebody wanting to order something that was really common that actually shows up on Pick-a-Brick walls, and we're like, really? That's what you want to choose for your part? So we might do a little policing of that next time to that point. And then I know that the guys over in Alabama, they do it something different where you got to go through and actually justify your part that you want to add to the list. So if you say, hey, here's these 2 parts or these 3 parts I want to add to the 85, and this is the quantity I'm going to buy to justify why it even gets added to the list in the first place. Because we had a problem last year where somebody wanted a part and they really wanted it. They locked it in and they were the only person who ordered that part and they only ordered 50 of them. And the whole point of bulk lug is to bulk. So again, there's some varyings of how you choose your pieces, which can be, it seems like everybody does it different across the whole country.
I think there's a lot to be said for not treating this as a democracy. Like you have 85 pieces that is 80. It's not a prime number, but there's not a lot of, like if you have 30 people in a log and you can't more or less decide that each of us get to choose about 3 parts and hopefully we'll overlap a little. And if we don't, then like if that kind of thing tears apart a log, then that's that says as much about the log as it does about the lug bulk program, I think. Like you need to be able to work together a little and be like, what we've done with some success in WAMA Lug is that we have a couple of individuals who are familiar with the program who kind of run it, and they put a lot of work in. I don't know how much, probably more than I realize. And everyone submits to them the parts they are requesting, and then they compare those parts to what they might cost online. And if there's a part that like only one person wants and it just doesn't make sense to get it in lug bulk, then that doesn't get selected. And that's ideally we should be picking parts that will be good for lots of people and not just like, one individual. And that's if you have 30 people and they all want to have an equal say and are yelling over each other, then like that's a bit, that can be a bit of a mess,
Yeah. And you're right. And it's actually Kevin's comment is perfect because I've thought about this and I know that my counterpart over in Alabama, and yes, I think there's 2 lugs in Alabama. That because we're at a point where I say, hey, you get to choose 2 parts and they're locked in no matter what. So my goal is to give everyone a say in what we're doing, as opposed to there being one person who sits behind the curtain and says, this is what we're going to do. If you want to coordinate with other people and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for to try and do stuff like that. It's kind of what we were trying to encourage people to talk. But then it got a little crazy because it became down to a voting process. And once you started voting, I think my downfall was by having people vote on things, while it gives people a chance to make their, to help choose what we're doing. It also gave people the ability to do what any campaigning does.
Make bad deals.
Yeah, make bad deals, sway people. insert 2020 election meme here. So it's not a perfect process, but I think each year we keep doing it better and better. But the ultimate thing, though, is that the lug as a whole has been good about this. And when the lug goes bad, it's probably where that falls apart.
See, and now this is kind of my question too, just kind of what Kevin brings up here is that I know prior to the lug ball program has been in place since what, 2010-ish, around there, sort of around there. Let's say
something like that.
So I remember in like maybe 2008 or 9, there was a sort of a more publicized thing in New Jersey, one of the New Jersey lugs, where they had a big presentation. One of the major players in that lug, who I'm not going to name, had sort of like organized that this big display had been done, I think one of the public libraries. And then after, and all this brick was obtained from Lego to do it. And it was, I think it was like landscaping more or less. It was like a lot. And then afterwards, a whole thing broke down because he, I think it's pretty safe to say, he basically took all that bulk and took it for himself, right? So, and he didn't distribute it to everyone else within the group. So, and it was only after that I started hearing about the lug bulk program. So my thought was like, I didn't know if that program came about to sort of avoid that, and if the lug bulk program was created not as just a perk to the lugs, but was it created to sort of like allow lugs to do large displays? Like, is that the original purpose?
So I can't say to that, and Kevin will probably be able to answer that better, but there is a different side of the lug, that there is lug support to do stuff like that.
Well, the lug bulk was originally created so that lugs could order a lot of parts so that they could do
big
great
displays,
things.
right?
Like a lot of things that I order are masonry bricks. So I could do a lot of buildings or enhance some of the buildings that I already have so that we could do train displays. But of course, you could do foliage, any kinds of the different foliage, or name a thing. People have lots of people to populate your display. The idea is that you as a lug can have a better display, which attracts more people to come visit it, which then, puts the word out that Lego is out there and part of the community, your community in general.
Because we're all free advertisement, really.
Exactly. Yes. That's exactly it.
And I know Chris, you popped up that Kevin had voted to kill lug bulk, and I'm not surprised, and I don't disagree. And I can also see how Kevin was probably overruled by some executive that says, "But we made this how much money from lug bulk? Oh no, we can't
money from lug bulk."
Yeah, so that's probably why it's still in function, because I can see how it is a negative impact to the community in a lot of ways, especially from a lug that's a little dishonest. David Cowdice and I were having a conversation earlier this week about the fact that the Orange Spacemen were already showing up on Bricklink for $20 a pop.
Yep.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. So odds are that person didn't go out and buy 20 of those DK books that the Orange Spacemen came in, and that's how they're selling them. No, they got them from lug bulk. And there were I think he even said that there were people on eBay who were selling them. Again, still $20 a pop. It's sad. It's sad. Kevin. So, it's that, I guess the whole topic that we're talking about in general is lugs, good, bad, pluses and minuses. Lug bulk has its good, bad, pluses and minuses. Anytime you get more than 15 people together, it creates a little drama. I think what the Biodome in Arizona had 20 people and it failed. So, I mean, go figure.
Yeah. Now, here's like when I was saying we wanted to bring it back to one thing, and it ties into that, is that this is one thing I find that's interesting about the lugs, is that I think we can all sort of agree that probably Lego draws a particular personality type to it more than any that's more common, right? And one of them tends to be, like, because it is a fairly solitary pastime, right? Like, it's really something that, introverts in the psychological sense, right? Not people in the common definition of the word that they disappear in the basement, even though that's where we all are. But anyway,
I'm on the second floor.
Yeah. But like, we're basically like, we're able to go long periods of time without social interaction and kind of be into our own thing. So I find it, and like, even as we grow older and we grow out of those sort of things, there's certain parts of that we retain. And that's the part I think that's interesting with lugs, is that they're the opposite of that, right? They thrive on interaction. They thrive on extrovert type behavior, right? You need that sort of like thing where you need, as a classic extrovert, you need someone to qualify and quantify your efforts to bring it back to you, right? So this is where I find like the lugs they're like a strange psychological experiment about taking these two polar opposites and they're putting them together, right?
You are so correct, because it's funny anytime I talk to Lego fans, even in the Lego store, I'll go to an adult Lego fan event inside our Lego store and talk about the lug and kind of promote it to people, and people are like, yeah, I like to Lego alone.
Yeah.
And even our lug, and we've had several members who have come to our lug, and they are definitely wallflowers for the first 3 or 4 months that they come to the shows or into the group, and they just kind of hang out on the edge because they're not quite sure how to interact. And I will say that this is one of the outstanding things that our lug does, is that we let that happen, and then we let people feel comfortable, and then they start falling into the mix, and then the next thing you know, you can't get them to shut up because now they feel comfortable, and their closet introvert comes out, and now they're part of this Lego group, and it's a family, and it's fun. So.
Right.
Well, yeah, I think we're talking a lot about sort of drama and problems with lugs, but like, I've been in my lug since 2001. I'm coming up on 20 years in my lug. Most of my adult life, I get really annoyed with some of the people there, but like, I love my lug. I'm so glad I'm part of I live in a place where I've discovered a lug, and it's a big active lug with lots of people, and we go out for lunch and we talk about Lego and other stuff and nerdy stuff, and we show off Lego. And like, if anyone is watching this and is just wondering and thinks that lugs sound like just a gigantic pain in the ass, like this is good social time, and you get to connect with other Lego builders who share your internet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think lugs are really the place where most people get a chance to really grow and see different techniques up close and personal because of what you bring to a meeting to show off. You know?
Well, here's the thing. Lug for me is a family, is a community, locally, kind of representing the bigger Lego community anyway. But it also is a way. What is my son doing? Anyway, he's like, here goes Dad again. But
I was popping my neck.
Okay, I'll pop you somewhere else in a minute. Anyway, so but it is an outlet because naturally I'm introverted, and in my normal circles, no one plays with Lego and no one really nerds a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? So it's that community that you have, and as you work your way into it, it becomes a safe place for you to be, the nerd that you are, to enjoy that hobby and everything. But this chat is born out of our lug, because when COVID hit and we couldn't meet, we started meeting every Saturday, just flipping on Zoom, and 4 or 5 of us who kind of were able to carry on a conversation for a long time, like 4 hours, a couple of Saturdays and all that kind of stuff. It's like, there's people just doing this online. So we started this, and then it helps us reconnect with old friends and new friends. And and all that kind of stuff. So the lug builds that connection for you to be able to feel comfy and grow as a collector or somebody who cares about Lego and everything. So for me, that's the positive of the lug. Obviously, if you can take away the politics and the junk, it's just if you like, hey, I don't build castle, but I'm cool that you do because that's a cool castle. And if we're friends enough, I can actually take a little dig at you for liking that, and you can take a dig at me for being a space nerd, and I'm good with that. Then you've built a deeper friendship, and that's a cool thing. And so with all the stuff that sounds like we've talked negative about the lugs, that is so much more positive. And if lug bulk went away, I haven't had it. We've only had it 2 years in our lug. Well, let it go away. I don't care. I mean, but I also don't want anybody gaming the system and cheating other people out, right? If we're going to do it. But anyway, so for me, the benefit of the lug is, like you said, that's a group of friends you've got, and there's a lot of political, religious, other differences in the lug that pretty much aren't addressed because we're in it for the brick, and we can appreciate each other's, even the differences through that. So for me, that's the super benefit of the lug. And you just got somebody you can go, hey, check out this thing I built, and you get feedback.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, and I think that it's kind of a funny joke that we can give each other a hard time in the lug, but if somebody was to give one of my lug members a hard time, I would defend them tooth and nail about whatever it was that they were doing, what they were building, because we are a family at this point in time. I mean, there are certain members in our lug who are very eccentric, as most lug enthusiasts or Lego enthusiasts are. We are naturally eccentric to begin with. I mean, hello, but for as eccentric as my members are that are in my lug, and they can be annoying at times, and I'm sure that I'm annoying at times, but yet
no, never.
Look
at all the M-Tron behind you. That is not annoying at all.
but it is that camaraderie. And again, and Chris, I know you talked about this, that it's all about the brick. It's all about the love of the brick. That's why we're there in the first place, because we have a passion for this hobby, not necessarily a theme. I mean, that's what it is. There was another comment that came on the side that was another reoccurring comment on the poll. There's not a lug near me, which is a tough answer, because you can go to land.lego.com and search for a lug that's near you. But I know that in South Carolina, there's no official lug. But yet I know that there is a lug that's formed. There's no way for you to find them unless you go searching and happen to find them on Google or happen to find them on Facebook. There's no official way for you to find them, and that's
or you can also.
I think
you can also have
that.
Right.
We're losing you, Rich.
Not that I've ever had that problem or will have that problem moving to Pennsylvania, but I think that if you are out in the middle of nowhere, you can, do a meetup and see who wants to come and be a meetup of your lug.
Well, I think one of the issues is, and Mark was one of these guys, and I know that there might have been somebody in my area that was that same way before, is you got to have somebody who's going to say, hey, there's not a lug here. I'm planting a flag in the ground and saying we're starting the lug, even if it's just me and some guy who I meet at the Lego store, and we decide we're going to meet every other month or whatever like that. I think the other problem is that if you don't live near a Lego store, that seems to be kind of like a homing beacon for people, and that lugs can spawn out of that. I know that the lug in Alabama first started because the store manager said, hey, you and you are here all the time. You guys thought about making a lug? I'll let you guys start your lug meetings here in the store, and then once you guys get organized, you go off and you do your thing. So, but again, that's not a requirement of a manager at a store to do, or for Lego to encourage. It just happens to be depending on whether somebody wants to do that.
Or I don't know if it's like that anywhere else. Sorry, just to be quick. I know that for Toronto, what can be tough is that the Toro Log guys are great. Like Toronto, unfortunately, is like it's kind of like long, right? So there's kind of West Toronto and East Toronto. So what they try to do is they bounce, like a lot of places do. They bounce the meetings, West End, East End, you know, kind of somewhat near the core. But the problem is that if your lug is encompassing a large area over sort of a densely populated area, particularly for Toro Log, most of their meetings are actually weeknights. To try to make it there can be a real challenge, right? Just because there is a lug there, and you got to sort of fight the demons to get there and home, right? So
here in Atlanta, everything's an hour away, so we're already stuck.
Yeah. But it sounds like you guys have your meetings on the weekends, though, right?
We typically have them on a Saturday, but we used to only have them every other month when we did physical meetings. Only now that we're doing virtual meetings are we doing them every month. And hopefully when we get to go back to doing physical meetings, we'll continue that on the off months that we don't do a physical meeting, we'll still continue to do a virtual meeting. And I think the reason we do the physical meeting every other month is that distance issue. Because, like I said, everything is an hour away. I mean, Chris and Mark, while they live in different directions from me, it's an hour for me to get to either of their houses.
Right.
So, and that's consistent. Even probably one of my better friends of the lug lives on the other side of town, who actually lives 5 minutes from the other Lego store. And I live 10 minutes from this Lego store. So it's all weird geographic stuff. And I think that comes into play for us.
Man, that's where the Facebook groups also help. If you get your lug to have some sort of online media or a Discord or Facebook page, or set up Zoom meetings, that helps connect and post pictures and stuff. That really helps a lot too.
Oh, absolutely. I think the funny thing is that part of the reason that we started doing a dues and an actual official member to our lug is because our Facebook group is like 300 people. Right. And it's a private group. I mean, it's not a public page. You can request it and join and gain access to it. It's got like 300 people in it. It's got people all over the country. Some people in other countries. So we actually had to create another group. So we just do in-house lug business for actual active members because we didn't want to isolate those other people completely. We just needed to say, hey, this is in-house lug business because we're the ones who are doing shows who are here physically. But we still want to interact with all of you people who want to interact with us, and we're more than happy to let you be interactive with us.
That's right.
So
and we do in our lug have a participation kind of requirement. You gotta you can't just be laying out there and not interact with anybody or come to a show and then you get to pick all the bricks on lug bulk. So there's some turnover there. Mark, I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to expand a little bit on what Dana was saying about running or organizing a lug. It kind of, if you don't have a lug and you're starting a lug, it really kind of needs one person who is going to push the lug like each month. Because that's what I did when C-Lug got started. I started I think at the time it was a Yahoo group that was just an email list. And I would just tell people, here's the address for the Yahoo group. You join it. We send out emails. And every single month we had a meeting somewhere. And it was always, I think, the first Saturday of the month. And if you have that regularity of meetings and just one person organizes it and makes sure there's a meeting whenever you're going to have it, then people start to fit it into their brains and their schedule, their mental schedules. People start to remember, oh, there's a meeting, I'm going to go to it. And it gathers momentum. And then eventually it might gather enough momentum that somebody else will chip in with some of the running the lug stuff. So it can take a little time to get that momentum, but if you have somebody to push it for that first year, then that can kind of get it rolling, and then from there you have a lug. So
sure.
And actually, to touch on that, the regularity is probably more key than it sounds. It may sound trivial, but we used to vary when in the month that our meeting was, even though it was every other month. It was never on the same, it wasn't the second weekend or the third weekend. And then listening to a podcast and hearing a lug saying, hey, our lug does our meeting on the third Saturday of the month, no matter what. And that it's funny because by us making our virtual meetings for that, and then when we go to physical meetings, it gives people to say, hey, I'm planning a vacation trip. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's a weekend that we have a lug meeting. I don't want us to miss the lug meeting. So maybe we'll go the different weekend, or, not that is a guarantee, but it gives people an idea to plan ahead as opposed to, oh, here, out of the blue, we're doing a meetup. Can you make it? Sorry, man, I got a life. You got to give me a little more advance notice than, 2 weeks kind of thing. So I think that regularity helps a lot.
There's a question. Can you work at the Lego store and be a part of a lug?
Oh, so that's actually very interesting. And I think, like Kevin said, yes, you can. And we have, the funny thing is that, the very, very careful thing is that, they'll be monitored. Most of our lug members some of our lug members are ex-Lego employees. And most of the Lego employees who work at our local stores, while they are more than welcome and we love hanging out with them, you can tell that they're resistant to come and meet with us. One is also timing, because most of those people work on Saturdays and Sundays, and we meet on Saturdays or something like that. The other thing is that, and I had a friend of mine ask me today when I was showing something off with the monstrosity of Mtron, when is Lego going to offer you a job? And I said, I jokingly said, laugh out loud, that's kind of funny because I'm too much of a fan of Lego to work for Lego. And Kevin contests to the hazards that creates. And the reality is, it's true. So Lego employees are probably more likely to join up with us after they leave the company than while they are members of it.
Yeah, if they still like it. That sometimes I'm done with this company, I'm out, I'm done. So
yeah,
that's what I'm actually always surprised at. Like, I see like Rye, Rye is running around all day long, knee deep, and thinking the bricks, planting the brick, doing the brick. And he comes home and he's, I'm like, oh man, that's like, it's like working at the ice cream factory and come home and eat ice cream. Like, it's just, so I don't know how he does it. I wouldn't want to see the stuff when I stepped in the front door if I was doing his work, but that's probably why he's good at his job.
True. Well, this has been a great decision. We are almost at 2 hours, so we probably need to gear this down. But this has been excellent discussion, especially since I have my leg up in the non-sore position, and I'm still loaded up on Tylenol. So thank you guys for chatting it up today and talking about that. But I hope if you listen to this or will listen to this in the future, you won't be dissuaded about joining a lug. It also, one of the things about joining a lug, it's like coming to any group, a church or any civic group. You get what you put into it as well. If you just come in and don't try to connect with anybody, or, if you're like, hey, how are you? And the first person that you meet isn't exactly, throwing a party that you're there and everything, and you get discouraged and you leave, then guess what? You didn't put enough into it. You've got to be, you got to make the effort yourself to get into it. And hopefully the lug makes it very warm and open for you to be there. And Mark and I, and the few things that we have done in the Lego group, there are people who will see us, and I know Adrian has probably experienced that too, because there's been some media attention or whatever, community attention to stuff we've done. People treat you like you're different, like, oh my goodness, you're that guy that did that thing. And it's like, no, I'm just a dude, right, who likes Lego like you do. So let's just start there. Let's not all of a sudden say you're more awesome because you can do this and I'm not. Just because you're getting started and we've been doing it for 40 years means very little. You're just as important to the Lego community as we are. So what you put into it what you and the effort you put into it, you're going to get that reflected back. Hopefully, if the lug is worth it. So make it consistent. Say, I'm not just going to go to one lug and try it out. I'm going to go to 6, and I'm going to stick it out for 6 and see what happens. That kind of stuff. So
now go get me a Coke, son.
I know that when we had live meetings that one of the things that I always tried to do is that if there was somebody new that came along, that I would say hello and welcome them and make sure that they knew that they were in fact in the right place, and ask them if they brought anything, and even if they didn't, ask what they were into and try to point them in directions of hey, military stuff. Go talk to Magnus or a couple of other people that are into military mocks or space or whatever, So it really takes the full community to actually welcome people in and make them feel like they belong there. If you're watching this now or even later and you're part of a lug, we get back to normal, whatever normal is, you get face-to-face meetings again. If somebody new comes along, welcome them in. Make them feel at home. Ask them if they're coming to lunch with you, Find out what their background is. Because that's the way that you bring in new family.
Yeah. There's
no other way to do it.
We've actually added a few guys because of COVID and us being online, and we were able to say, hey, well, we're not meeting physically, but every Saturday at 2:30, we're just flipping on the Zoom camera on non-regular meeting Saturdays, which is this Saturday, 2 Saturdays coming up. And those folks have joined in, and so they've connected with us. So hopefully that will continue when we're able to meet again in person. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you in the chat. It was a very lively chat tonight. Lots of viewers, lots of comments. And like I said, we love lugs. We love our lug. We're sorry, Mr. Canadian guy, he doesn't have one yet. Hopefully, and everything, you can find one. I hope so.
You can join Wamalug. Hey, Gil, you can join Wamalug and come on our Zoom meeting tomorrow. Saturday.
Don't get me wrong. I actually do have one. I've been to a few of the Toro log ones and stuff, and the fault is definitely not in the log. The fault is in this guy. So yeah. Yeah.
You got to put but you also have to have the time. So as any club, you get what you can put into it and what you do put into it. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. It was a great chat. Y'all have a good night. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good night. Do something awesome, all that kind of jazz. I'd say that just for you, Bram.